everybody, and welcome to another episode of Academic Research Logs. Today I've got Dr. Alhassan with me, and it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
You are such an inspiration, honestly. The work that you do in the space that you're occupying, it is amazing. And I've been following you for a while now.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background, if you don't mind?
Okay, thank you so much. I mean, it's my pleasure. I know we've been working around good time to meet. And
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Alhassan. I'm originally from Ghana.
Yeah.
I did my Bachelor of Social Work, honors in Ghana,
Yes.
and I did my PhD in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And I was a visiting research fellow in the US. And now I'm a lecturer in social work at Flinders.
Flinders. So you've done a bit of everything, been
moving around.
It's like a multi-international kind of
exactly.
project that you've kind of gone around and done.
Yeah.
But today our topic of interest is on qualitative research and publication.
Okay.
And this started when I saw your research update, and I saw something on your update
Okay.
on WhatsApp. You might not even remember.
Okay.
You might not remember, but I saw something along the lines of, quote unquote, something along laziness in qualitative publishing, and that really got my attention. And I thought if we can even explain what this is, I think it might save a lot of us qualitative researchers in terms of when we go and publish and then we get this rejection back because we haven't done the work. So can you elaborate a little bit on what this is?
I might not remember the exact incident, but I mean to respond to that about qualitative stuff. So what I've observed so far is that people do what I term as cherry pick. So I've done a study, I've interviewed people, and I want to write a paper. So I just write, analysis. How did I even do the analysis? Brown and Clark, they are the most common, right? Okay, so I followed Brown and Clark's strategy, right? Yes, but there are over, if I'm not exaggerating, 50 research designs.
Yes.
And each research design comes with its own research procedure.
That's true.
Within qualitative. And how you analyze the data. So the most common, or probably where people think qualitative started from, is grounded theory.
Yes.
So grounded theory by Strauss, they gave their thinking around qualitative.
Yes, that's
and that thinking is grounded within how they perceive knowledge and how knowledge should be generated, right, or created.
Yeah, that's right.
Then they give a guideline how the data should be collected. And how the data should be analyzed.
That's true.
And how the data should be reported. So if you follow Brown and grounded theory, you have to follow it religiously.
Yes.
Follow their design, how they are thinking about the world, and how knowledge should be generated. And that knowledge generation process should connect back to your objective. So the objective of your project determines the design you will use. The design will then determine how you collect your data, how you analyze the data. So you can't say that, for example, narrative is a core design. You can't say that I'm using narrative and then I'm analyzing my data using Brown and Clark. So if this paper should be submitted in any journal and the editor is, or maybe the reviewers are more qualitative inclined, they can tell the flaw because narrative is about story. So narrative has a way of thinking about knowledge. They think that knowledge is grounded within people's lived experience and their story. So when you are analyzing narrative data, you are not only analyzing what they said, but you're analyzing how they said it, the chronology of it. So how did they start telling the story, right? I can tell you how I got here by saying, started with my honors, went to Hong Kong, did fellowship in US, and I'm here. The same narrative about how you ended up in academia, someone would tell it differently. Say, okay, I did honors, did my master's, did research project, did that here, this research project gave me this, that gave me that. So different narrative, the chronology is different. That's not suitable for Brown and Clark. So if you say I use Brown and Clark, then someone will just tell you right from the word. then you're wrong. So those who are really good methodologically, they are the ones who can publish one participant article.
Wow.
Yes.
So just like a storytelling,
Just one
just
person.
one.
Exactly. Because they follow, for example, there is autobiography, there is life story.
Yeah.
These are all narrative approaches and designs. If I tell your life story in an article, I can tell your life story and publish it in a Q1 journal. Just you. Yes, because I followed the procedure. I convinced you that I'm using this design, and this design is suitable for my project, the objective. I followed the design strategy to identify my objective, went through that to do my data collection, use the same design strategy to do data analysis. So you won't have a methodological grounds to reject the piece. But if you say that, okay, I interviewed 2-3 people and I analyzed, you did not even mention the design at all. In 8 out of 20 qualitative papers, they will not report the design, which is a big flaw. So if you don't report the design, they will say I use exploratory qualitative approach. Every qualitative is exploratory. So the main grounds of qualitative is to explore something. But how we explore it is different. Narrative will tell you different. Grounded theory will tell you different. Phenomenology will tell you different. Interpretative phenomenology will tell you different. Life history will tell you different. Qualitative will tell you different. There are billions. So that's my observation when I review papers. So sometimes I don't become a bit too strict. I'm like, okay, if the findings are meaningful, I'll give you comments to improve your methodology. But if you don't work on it, that's fine. Because Brown and Clark, they made it clear in their opening statement that their methodology is pluralist, is flexible. So they are not attached to any of the methodology, any of the designs.
That's right.
But they have created something which a lot of people can use. But you have to make sure that if you're using it, it is suitable for the design.
And I think what I'm hearing you to avoid that laziness is that make sure you have something that's solid, that okay, this is what guides my thinking.
Exactly.
And I think rather than just go, oh, Brown and Clark, it's like, okay, how did you get to Brown and Clark?
Exactly.
Isn't it? What guides you to get to Brown and Clark?
Let me bring the book here. That might help our discussion. So maybe the audience might want to see this. So this is interpretative phenomenological analysis. So my recommendation is that when someone comes to me for guidance and my PhD students, I tell them follow one process and follow it religiously. So if I use IPA tells me for a PhD with a combined 3 sub-studies, I can have 10 participants. So because I'm using this and I'm justifying my sample, it tells you the sample it needs, how you should do the sampling, how you should do the data collection, how you should do the interviews, how you should record your memos, how you should analyze them, everything. So I follow it. And when you follow it, the benefit is that you can then identify some flaws and make a methodological contribution. So there are people who are methodologists, like I have a colleague, Ebenezer. He is like, I'll read this and identify the flaw and make a contribution. So I think my general recommendation is that you don't have to pick the design after your data collection or after your analysis. You have to pick your design because that will inform the data collection, the sampling, data analysis. So if you have a data and then you are coming back to justify it using any of them, it's a bit problematic.
So you always say make sure that you plan well.
Exactly.
And when you think about some of the things with qualitative, it's like sometimes we have the notion that it's so flexible, just keep going. You know, that's what you hear.
Says,
But you know, it's no. You know, there's a process, right? There's a process to it.
And when you write, they will ask you, even though qualitative is not about numbers, they want you to be valid. They want to, how do you demonstrate that the result is valid? Each of the approach has its own way for you to justify that this findings is trustworthy. This has a section on validity and reliability, even though it's qualitative. So it's not that flexible. If you follow the process, you can generate knowledge that people will appreciate because you can really justify how the knowledge is valid. But of course, you have to follow the process.
And you know how in qualitative we go, 10 participants is when you reach saturation, that's what they say. But then we're having a methodology that's saying, actually, saturation is not the key.
No.
If you have 10, you can just go and then you're fine.
Exactly, I mean, there's a whole discourse which you can have a conversation about.
I know, around
saturation. Right? So there are people saying, there is no way we can reach saturation. Even though I will tell you the same thing, but I'll tell you it differently.
True,
so there are people who are against it. So how then do we determine a sample size? That's another conversation.
Yes. I think I'm going to have to book you in advance to cover that.
Definitely, that's fine.
I think today is just an introduction. I think you've been able to really let us know. And I think the take-home message is that have a process in place. Make sure you have your plan in place and follow it to the T. And coming from someone that's reviewed a lot of qualitative publications, if you do your methodology right, you set yourself up.
I've published with 4 participants before. I have a paper currently with 2 participants. And it's going to be published in a Key One journal. Because I'm following the methodological rules. Know your design, follow that design, use it to justify each process.
Absolutely.
Don't jump into just Brown and Clark because they're giving a flexible rule. No, I don't know how. No.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us.